You back up, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're back up. Okay, Ms. Chappelle?
Yeah, my apologies. I didn't realize I forgot we had turned off our recording. So I am going to make a motion that the voter challenge be upheld in this case, and that in the motion, and part of that motion is that there be a directive to cancel Mrs. King's current registration based on the testimony that was given unequivocally that she lives at 5150 Austin Lane and has lived there for 33 years, I believe she said. So, you know, to me, this case is different from the prior case because there was unequivocal testimony that she did not currently live at the 1735 Elsinore address. And for that reason, it seems to me that the challenger has sustained the evidentiary burden required and the challenge should be upheld. So the motion is to uphold the challenge and direct that the Mrs. King's voter registration be canceled. It's my understanding that it would be incumbent upon Mrs. King then to file the correct, refile her registration as her correct residence.
Okay, excellent. That motion is in order. I will second it. Any further discussion?
No, I concur in your comments. I thought that was actually very straightforward.
Sure.
Yeah.
The interest.
Yes. Okay, hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. We'll now call the case of Cecil King Jr. Mr. Meyer, Mr. Brewer, the Cecil King,
We need Hassani to come up and give
and
a.
Mr. Wheat, if you would come up too. Thank you. Mr. King present. Mr. King is not present. We'll note that for the record. Mr. Wheat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry.
You should have
Well,
before you.
is Mr. Alexander his
Mr.
attorney?
Alexander, are you representing Mr. King?
I think Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, he is here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have before you a challenge that was submitted to you by Mr. Eric Brewer. On April 17th, 2023, Mr. Brewer, a registered voter in Cuyahoga County, submitted a Secretary of State prescribed form 257, challenge of the right to vote and correction of registration lists on Mr. Cecil King Jr., who is currently registered at 1735 Elsinore Avenue in East Cleveland. According to our records in the voter registration database, Mr. King Jr. has been registered at 1735 Elsinore Avenue since November 2000. The voter registration database also shows that Mr. King Jr. has voted at the Elsinore Avenue address since the November general election in 2000, a total of 32 times. The voter registration database also shows that there are a total of 6 individuals that are currently registered at 1735 Elsinore Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Wheat. Mr. Myers?
Thank you. We note that Cecil King was subpoenaed to be here and he's not here, but I would rely on the evidence that his mother just gave, where she unequivocally said that he did not live at 1735 Elsinore, and rest on that evidence. Ask the board to consider it in this case.
So, Ms. Chappelle?
Yeah, no, I've got a couple of, I think that, you know, the evidence of his mother was something certainly we can rely on and was unequivocal. The fact that he was subpoenaed and, you know, didn't show up. My question is, did we move on the motion to, quash the subpoenas? We did, okay. Getting confused here. I thought we moved on everything else. But
I'm not sure we ruled on the motions of quash. I think we're going to let those play out. If you recall.
okay.
Those also did relate to Cecil King.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, my view, unfortunately, is that, you know, when you don't show up, you know, it just really becomes difficult to do anything other than uphold the challenge, and especially given the testimony of his mother. So I would actually move again to uphold the challenge and to have the cancel the voter registration of Cecil King Jr. and obviously he would need to refile and his voter registration and correct his voter registration accordingly, based on the testimony we heard and the fact that, I mean, you almost win by, you win by default because there's no evidence to rebut what has been presented today, so.
Okay, Mr. Bell, the motion is in order. Is there a second?
I'll second it, and just in terms of discussion, we do have some evidence and information, the message from him, and additionally, the testimony from his mother. And he is not here to rebut that, so at this point, I think there's sufficient evidence as well to support the motion.
Does council want to call any witnesses? That was a-
Well, here's the thing, he said the lawyer is not, there's no lawyer here, I just make a record that not only is Mr. King not here, his counsel is
Well, counsel's not here, everybody seems to have, I don't know, he was here, did Mr. Alexander leave?
he left.
Okay, let's, yeah.
Is he here on behalf of him? He said the other attorney might be, and then he left, so,
Before we vote on the motion, let's at least.
yeah.
Cecil. Cecil is there.
I mean, that's the thing too, this was noticed, so we have to be
Yeah.
present, if you're not gonna leave, then leave.
She could also re-register.
In the same location if you wanted, right?
Oh.
You could.
We have the same issue.
Well, you don't know.
My apologies, but somebody else is substituting. So now. Okay.
Okay, Mr.
So-
Mr.
Maybe
Alexander,
we can come, he
you can come up to the podium, sir. This is on the matter of Mr. Cecil King Jr., sir. Anything that you would like to share on his behalf?
Okay, you want me to defend him today?
Just speak up a little bit.
You want me to defend him today? We always figured what this was, a challenge to the mayoralty ship. And the attack on his wife's local resolved. I don't expect the other siblings to appear. The mother showed up and she would testify that contrary to what you all decided, that she could always return to that location and always go to that location. And she's not sure about Cecil King. So it's on them, whatever evidence.
So they've made their case. We do have a motion on the floor
Well,
to,
Before, can we have the court reporter repeat the motion? You were out of the room, but we thought you had left. But are you indicating today that there is no, you do not intend to rebut the evidence, the case in chief that was?
I wasn't here. I don't know what they put in. I'm assuming it's the same material that was filed on April 17th.
In addition of the mother's testimony, which you were here for.
Oh,
Yeah, and she did say, I don't think you're summarizing it correctly, but yes, that was what was said.
So maybe the court reporter could read back the motion for the benefit of Attorney Alexander.
Well, I don't want to belabor the proceedings.
So just go ahead.
show me something.
I'll make a motion for the record. It hasn't been raised before, but with regard to this particular challenge, next one's to come. the way I read the statute, if you're gonna have this hearing, you had to do it within 10 days.
We already talked
So
about
that's not germane to where we are
I'm
right now.
sorry.
That's not pertinent to where we are at this moment. We're gonna
Yeah.
have our court reporter recite the
Actually,
motion for the record.
and also for the record, it was the councils that requested a continuance and already had litigated this
Yeah,
motion.
we hashed that at our last
It was
meeting.
Yeah.
late then.
Yeah,
You
and
had to
Yeah,
have
you
the
have the
hearing by
record.
April
You have the
27th.
record.
You can't get
I
around
do.
that.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll come to order. We'll hear from our court reporter.
Yeah, so I just had to go back because you started talking again, so I'm sorry.
Here, I'll just make the motion again. Yeah, did you find it?
I think because my computer died and then it came back up. so I don't know.
So my motion, Attorney Alexander, was that the challenge be upheld based on the testimony of Mrs. King and the fact that you've now indicated that there's no rebuttal testimony to be put into evidence. So from motion is that the voter challenge be upheld and that there be a directive to cancel Cecil King Jr.'s current registration. And if he should so choose, he'll need to re-register at his correct residence.
was seconded and
Motion is seconded by Ms. Sticker.
I think we're good.
Okay, there was no further discussion on that motion. Is properly before us. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Now we move on to the challenge of voter residency filed against Norman King. Mr. Wheat, if you would come, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have before you a challenge that was submitted to you by Mr. Eric Brewer. On April 17, 2023, Mr. Brewer, a registered voter in Cuyahoga County, submitted a prescribed form from the Secretary of State's Office 257, challenge of the right to vote and correction of registration list on Mr. Norman King, who is currently registered at 1735 Elsinore Avenue in East Cleveland. According to our records in the voter registration database, Mr. King has been registered at 1735 Elsinore Avenue regularly since the November 2015 general election. Voter registration database also shows that Mr. King has voted from this address since the November 1993 general election. There are 15 instances in which Mr. King voted at 1735 Elsinore Avenue. The voter registration database also shows that there are a total of 6 individuals that are currently registered at 1735 Elsinore Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Wheat. Mr. Myers?
Thank you. And as with Cecil King, I rely on testimony of the mother that Norman King does not live at 1735 Elsinore. And will rest on prior testimony of the mother.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Alexander?
The board will recall testimony. At Cecil Commission, she stated that Norman King resides at that location. And I also repeat the motion, it's missed on the basis. This hearing had to be conducted by April 27th. Not even sure that Mr. King is going to be notified of this proper statute.
Well, I think all of those matters, your motion and all of those matters you've just raised have been addressed by this body already. And given the fact that you're not offering any rebuttal and there's no rebuttal testimony, I will make a motion to uphold the challenge based on the testimony of Mrs. King and the other information we have heard today. And would also direct that the registration be canceled. And if Mr. Norman King wishes to re-register at his current residence, that would be his choice. But the motion is to uphold the voter challenge and direct that Mr. Norman King's registration be canceled.
The motion is In order,
I'll second.
Ms. Dickens second. Any further discussion?
I would just note that the attorneys entered appearance on behalf of all King family defendants, so there was notification and also entry by counsel in this matter. Additionally to the testimony of the mother was that he resides in Richmond Heights, quote, too, because I wrote that down. So I think that's pretty clear. And there was other information submitted as part of the packet. So that's why I support your motion. Thank you.
Okay. We will call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you very much. We will now move on with our agenda to candidate and petition services. And we are still in session, so as you leave, if you would leave quietly, please. Thank you. Candidate and petition services, agenda item 13. I move the acknowledgement and resignation from appointed and to elected office. I move the acknowledgement of the resignation from elected office of Dan DeRoya, North Randall Village Council, member of council. And I move the appointment to elected office of Jesse Ruffin III, North Randall Village Council, member of council.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. The ayes have it. It is so ordered. I move the certification of independent candidates to the November 7th, 2023 general election. And they are Parma Council Ward 8, Nick Reyes, Parma Council Ward 8, Debbie Tabasso, Parma Council Ward 9, Robert Earl, Berea Municipal Court Clerk, full term commencing 1/1/24, Michael D. Gamella, Berea Municipal Court Clerk, full term commencing 1/1/24, Joanna Hamrick, and Rocky River Municipal Court Judge, full term commencing 1/1/24, Karen Kelly Kraus.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Election officials, I move the approval to appoint not less than 2 precinct election officials for each precinct pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 3501.22 for the August 8th, 2023 special election.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Election support. I move the preliminary authorization for the allocation of voting booths for the August 8th, 2023 special election. Allocation quantities are based on 1 voting booth for every 175 registered voters per polling location. A total of 5,072 voting booths will be allocated, plus 782 ClearCast Go scanners, plus 287 ADA clear access voting units and 980 electronic poll books.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Fiscal services, the chair recognizes Ms. Shanquita Walker. Hello.
Oh,
Item number 17 before you is the contract for the new storage and moving contract. We released a bid out April 18th, 23. At close May 3rd, 23. We received 2 respondents, Quark and Moving Systems. Their bid came in at $615,285. Berman's Moving and Storage was the second respondent. Their bid came in at $209,122.54. After looking at both of the responses, it was in the best interest for us to continue our relationship with Berman's. They have a current relationship with us. They know our system and processes, and their cost was effective. With Berman's, with this new term, the difference in this contract, there was a mild increase in the tier 1 and tier 2. for tier one, it increased approximately $33, and for tier two, it increased approximately $44. The increase is reflective of the issues that were addressed before previously that could not be addressed due to the previous contract, that being gas and additional costs for things that we could not foresee due to the pandemic.
Thank you. I will move the approval of those contracts and the associated resolutions.
It's
And
just one quick question. Oh, I'm second, I'm sorry.
Second. Okay, now it's been seconded. Now we can discuss.
Thank you. So the $209,122.54, that's the all-in, that's the amount not to exceed.
Yes.
Okay, just had to make,
For the first term.
for this 3-year term, yeah.
2 years.
2 years, I'm sorry. Oh, 23 to 24, May 31st, 25. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pilati, you were saying, was it to say something?
No, I just, it's, I guess just remind everyone, tier one and tier two, what that means is this contract basically is based on deliveries. So tier one is of a certain size of number of precincts and equipment, and tier two is a little bit larger time. So that's how, that's what that means. It's kind of calculated based on that. And they do store voting booth stores currently until someday we get a nice new fancy building.
Thank you. Motion's properly before us and it's been seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, it is so ordered. The approval of the vouchers of Ms. Walker, anything you need to say to that or?
Yes, well, I just say there are 2 vouchers that we have for you. The first one is for the ancillary purchase of the carts. We got, just want to say there's 2 invoices because we got 2 shipments. So the total cost is $343,000. But it's for 2 shipments that we need for the new storage carts for the transportation of all our ballot and election equipment. The second one is the 10X Ames contract. This is the new maintenance to continue the service in that contract.
Thank you. I move the approval of those vouchers. It's been seconded by Ms. Chappelle. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, it is so ordered. Thank you, Ms. Walker. On to human resources. I move the motion of Andrew Kaiser from election official 2, election support department, to supervisor, election officials department, effective May 29th, 2023. Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion?
With the salary increase as indicated in our docket.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, any unreadiness? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is so ordered. New business, Director Pilati.
So I'll keep this real quick. August 8th, obviously that's on the forefront, and now especially with certifying today, we do have to get through the audit, but we sent out contracts to all our polling locations. We started to receive some of those back. They're not all back, and that's normal. We will continue to follow up with them to see, this would be really our first glance of knowing if someone won't be able to serve as a poll place. So we're up and going on that. Poll worker training. We're going to probably start that up about June 10th. Obviously, Becky Brake and her team have been working really hard to pull together the training. We feel like we have enough information where we can really set out and conduct poll worker training. It needs to be in person because it's new voting equipment. And what we want to do is start with our returning workers primarily first. We're going to do a lot of training in this building until early voting starts in July, as well as continue to use the county's hardware garage down in Newburgh Heights, because we're able to store our new voting equipment there, because it's like a hands-on portion with that. So we're up and running with that and making good headway. But I guess the scariest thing is, and I have all the faith in the world in Brian Clary, is that as of today, he does not know how to code a ballot in a clear ballot system, but he will have a ballot ready for Uwakava on June 23rd. And because clear ballot is actually today, they started coming in and doing some in-person training, and they'll continue to do that to give us that hands-on, which is part of the contract to get us where we need to be for the August election.
And thank you. Well, just note that his name is Clary, so he's got clear ballot down pat. We have faith in you, Brian. All right, we have public comment. We do have a request from Patricia Blakoviak. Ms. Blakoviak, if you are present, and we'll have our clerks to the board have our timer. You will have 5 minutes, and if you would please state your name for the record and spelling for the court reporter, and you will have up to 5 minutes to address the board.
I am Counselor Patricia Blochowiak, last name is spelled Blochowiak. And I came here specifically to speak about the concerns about Stephanie McCrimmon King, who happens to have a friend of mine living down the street from the house where she used to live and where she disappeared from before the February sale of that, when she, about the time when she changed her nursing license to the address in Euclid. So I have a couple of things I want to say. One is a question: what is the procedure to make sure that there is some sort of consequence to her obviously voting from the South Euclid address that she didn't live at any rate? There's that. But we also have a situation where we have numerous people who stated that they lived on Elsinore, voted when they lived on Elsinore. Mrs. King for 33 years. And I would like to make sure at this point in time that everyone understands that you can't do that. At least I hope you will agree with me that you can't do that for 33 years and just say, oh, well, yeah, just fix it now. I mean, that's been, by her admission, commission of a felony for 33 years. I've forgotten how many times they said she voted at that address. Was it 40? Was it 30? Was it 50? I don't remember the number, but it wasn't just once or twice. And granted, she is now elderly, but the consequences are more than just the consequences to Mrs. King. The consequences are to the city of East Cleveland. I've been before you in the past regarding other people who were voting from addresses that were not their addresses. I've been before you regarding a woman who circulated petitions and then put somebody else's name on them. And I am very concerned that the Board of Elections applies consequences. And it's my understanding that the consequence that you can apply is to refer for prosecution. It seems to me that you don't commit a crime for 33 years and have somebody just say, okay, that's fine. You know, you did that. Now just change the address. It's not only that person. It is the city of East Cleveland and the whole county who will hear the message that you provide if you don't have consequences for that behavior. I think that it's very important that the Board of Elections begins to do the right thing there. And as I said, I've been here numerous times, starting 15 years ago, I don't remember. When a council member alleged that she lived in a house that was totally trashed. It was, somebody was planning to fix it, but they never did. There was no running water, there were no functioning toilets in that house. This is slightly different. But the building inspector didn't show to say that that house was, I don't remember if it was condemned or whatever the terminology would be. But our building department went to the house on Elsinore and determined that it was not an acceptable house for human habitation.
Thank you, Ms. Potoviac.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate those comments. I saw the document from the housing inspector. I don't think there was any condemnation. There were violations for the house. So I do think we have a duty to do something about this. I mean, this is, it seems to me that the record established that certain members of that family clearly didn't live there. I mean, by the mother's own admission, at least 2 of them did not. The testimony of Mrs. King, I mean, the documents from Mrs. King suggest that she sold that house and then still vote to a third party and still voted from there. And that's in the South Euclid home. I do think we have got to refer at least those 3 cases to the prosecutor for further investigation. That would be Cecil King Jr., Norman King, and Mrs. Norma King, and then the Brandon King's wife.
Norman.
I would also,
Norman.
Pardon me?
Norma.
Norman, Cecil Jr., and then
Stephanie McCarroll.
Stephanie, yeah, his wife. I'm sorry. I just, I mean, I do agree at some point, we can do what we did here to do, which is certainly what our responsibility to have them to rule on the challenge and require cancellation of registrations and correction of our own records. But it just seems to me that, I mean, this is gaming the system in a ridiculous way here. And at least we have the obligation to refer these particular irregularities to the prosecutor. It's just my view of it. And I do appreciate the comments that were made. This is just not right. So,
Can I also add for the record, Stephanie McCarroll King, because I took some notes, she said she never intended to live in the, is it Ellsmore, am I saying that right? Ellsmore, yeah, household, she said she never intended to live there. And she didn't intend to live there, which was a concern to me, because why was she registered to go there then?
well, in addition to the Elsinore address, there seemed to be evidence in the written materials that she sold her home to a
Yes.
third party. That's the South Euclid home. But she continued to, at least in one election, she voted
That's
for
right.
that home after it was sold. I mean, it's just, we have got to, I think we have a duty to move those items forward to the prosecutor. It's just not right. And based on, on the evidence that we saw today.
Yeah, and I think that we have cared for our duties for today concerning that. And then that opens up the possibility for other pursuits down the road that are outside of the purview of this particular meeting.
Do we have to make a motion to refer to the prosecutor?
Does that come down or does that come later? Or do you-
No,
do that?
we need to, I mean, I don't,
I think we would want to talk to staff, right? Or do we need to do some other things?
okay, I mean, I'm happy to defer to
Sure,
staff
yes.
and if they can do some additional
Okay.
Yeah,
investigation. I know the prosecutor doesn't want us to just sort of send stuff out.
I think we
To
would do
them,
some
so-
more work
Yeah,
offline and
you're
then
right.
come back and then care for that in a different
Okay,
time.
But I do think we owe a
It
duty
is on
to
the
follow
record that
up.
we are not going to just let this drop.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
we're
Mr.
on
Chair.
record for that. Thank you. All right, all business having been taken care of today, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.